look at the innovation that could take place if women hadn't been silenced for 100 years in the game, and look at how this could actually push the entire code forward, men's and women's football. It's a great question because some people at the time looked at this through a product lens of, we have a great product, which is the core game, the men's game, that served, X amount of audiences, drove X amount, kind of 2.5 billion in broadcast opportunities. It was a sure thing and guaranteed reach. So why don't we just take the principles of that and basically apply it to the female game? What I did in terms of trying to shift that mindset from the very beginning was to paint a level of context. I actually went back into the archives, which is one of my first things that I did when I was building this project, and looked at the first women's game that was ever played in Australia, which was in 1918 in Perth. And I found this fantastic photograph that showed that women had actually already been connected to our game for 100 years. Like, the journey to women's football was 100 years in the making. And all of their qualities that they brought to the game, kind of new innovation, kind of a different way of sort of playing on the ball, different team mindset mentality, different approach to coaching, also just a completely different sort of physical approach to the game because of flexibility and also just how they move on field. All of these qualities were really silenced over those years. So I used that as a bit of a bait and also a bit of context setting to say that, look at the innovation that could take place if women hadn't been silenced for 100 years in the game, and look at how this could actually push the entire code forward, men's and women's football. So that was definitely the first thing. The second thing I looked at was feminism and the four waves. And this was probably the most controversial part of the work that I did. I had 172 presentations that I gave for the 18 months that I worked on this project. So that was to coaches, administrators, journalists, basically anyone who touched the women's game. They had to go through sort of this brand, cultural, educational, I would say conversation, not lesson, but certainly conversation about the strategy, about what we were building. And in that, I actually put up this slide that had the four waves of feminism and talked about the importance of celebrating the difference, that just by comparing, women and men side by side was never going to be a way of success or progress. It didn't appreciate the difference that women could actually have on the game in terms of the fundamentals. So that was a big, big moment. I think it was a big moment in people shifting their mindset to say that we could do things differently. And that's where the whole positioning of the league came from. See what we create was our motto, our positioning, our statement, our belief system as well. It was about see what women can do if you give them the core principles of the game and see what they can build from it. So that was probably the second thing. I think the third part was, with those two pieces of context in play, it actually allowed us to release the shackles that had kept the men's game back for so long. So we really innovated when it came to broadcast. We changed the way that we broadcast the games, not just in terms of the way that the cameras were set up, but also in terms of the commentators, the segments. We did a live stream for the very first time, kind of from the content studio, which we built in-house. We did live streaming across Instagram as well, kind of using the Instagram platform in a really different way at that time, which had never been done before for the men's. So it gave us a license to kind of change the traditional format of the men's game. And what the most interesting thing that came out of this sort of at the back end of the 12 to 14 months was that you had so many people working on the men's product saying, I actually like to take a little bit of that from the women's game. You'd had so many broadcasters change the way that they think about the men's product. So it lifted the whole code. And I think this is a broader comment here about how when you bring women into a conversation in any career, in any industry, and you actually give them a chance to put their own fingerprints on it, it can completely lift the category as a whole, which we've known about for a long time, but sometimes people need a reminder of it.